Good afternoon and welcome to VetNet IVMF's webinars. Today is our session on our series One Work Opportunity Employer Spotlight. My name is Elvis Abdij. I'm Post-Program Support Service Advisor here at IVMF, and I assist our IVMF program graduates with assistance with resources and connections with forwarding their careers and entrepreneurship business ventures goals. And Institute for Veterans and Military Families, in partnership with Hire Heroes USA, is bringing you this 5th series of O2O Employer Spotlight webinars. Today, assisting me with from Hire Heroes USA is Brianna Morales. I'll have Brianna introduce herself and give a little snapshot about who we have joining us today from employers. Brianna.
Thank you, Elvis. Hire Heroes USA provides free job search assistance to its military members, veterans, and military spouses, and we help companies connect with opportunities to hire them. We have helped more than 35,000 veterans and military spouses get hired since we started, and it is my pleasure to introduce 3 of those employers that help us accomplish that goal. Cheryl Jimenez joins us from El Dorado, Arkansas, where she is currently serving as the HR manager for Lanxess Americas, overseeing 3 facilities in South Arkansas with approximately 550 employees. Lanxess is a global company that specializes in chemical research, education, and supply. It currently has about 15,400 employees in 33 countries and is represented at 60 production sites worldwide. The core business of Lanxess is the development, manufacturing, and marketing of chemical intermediates, additives, specialty chemicals, and plastics. Cheryl found her focus and passion in the manufacturing world and holds both her PHR and SHRM PC certifications and brings more than 15 years of HR experience with her. Adai Fonseca joins us from Philadelphia, where he currently serves as the Director of Veterans Programs and Program Manager for the Nelson Frank ServiceNow Tech Academy. Launched in 2019, the corporate onboarding program provides qualified service members exiting the military the opportunity to enter the IT field through a career as a ServiceNow consultant. In partnership with ServiceNow, the program provides 2 years guaranteed employment, beginning with a 10-week onboarding certification training focused on ServiceNow to immediately impact client projects upon assignment. Graduates of the program will have multiple industry certifications to include ServiceNow Certified Systems Administrator, ServiceNow Certified Implementation Specialist, and ServiceNow Certified Application Developer. Finally, joining us today is retired Major General Gary Patton, where he serves as the Vice President of CACI's Military and Veteran Affairs Program. CACI provides information solutions and services in support of national security missions and government transformation for intelligence, defense, and federal civilian customers. A Fortune World's Most Admired Company, CACI is a member of the Fortune 1000 largest companies, the Russell 1000 Index, and S&P Midcap 400 Index. CACI's sustained commitment to ethics and integrity defines its corporate culture and drives its success. With approximately 22,000 employees worldwide, nearly 8,000 of whom are veterans, CACI provides dynamic career opportunities for military veterans and industry professionals to support the nation's most critical mission. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Brianna. And I just want to let you guys know today I will be monitoring in this session with assistance from Brianna. And today our live session will be recorded, and everybody that registered for this session will get a recorded link to the session and with a survey link as well to rate us and give us more information on what would you like to see in our future VetNet webinars. But Gary, Adi, and Cheryl, welcome, and I'm going to give you each 5 minutes to introduce yourself a little more about you and your companies, and we'll start with Cheryl.
Great, thank you for having us. A little bit about our company. We are an international company, like they said. We have a series of sites in the U.S. that we have a variety of things that we do. So in El Dorado, we do chemical manufacturing, but if you go up in Little Rock, for example, we make tire bladders. So we have positions all throughout the U.S. that we're looking to fill. A lot of those positions we're pushing to get people with some experience and exposure, because everyone knows the manufacturing world right now has a lot of people that are going to be retiring in the next 3 to 5 years. So we're looking to fill with some individuals that have some experience or exposure that they can bring. And that's where the veterans really come in, because a lot of stuff that they do in the service becomes transferable into our world. And we look to increase our veteran recruitment.
Thank you, Cheryl. Adi Fonseca, can you tell a little bit about yourself and introduce your company?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you for the invite. Looking forward to this. So I work for a company called Frank Recruitment Group, which is a global niche IT staffing firm. And within that company, there sits 9 individual brands, each focused on a different IT, whether it be Salesforce, AWS, or ServiceNow. The Nelson Frank brand focuses specifically on ServiceNow staffing. ServiceNow is the second fastest growing IT technology in the world behind Salesforce, and it's being very rapidly adopted in the federal government through companies such as CACI, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Deloitte, Accenture, and the like. The program that I've currently built within the organization, I was brought on to hire and train veterans in the ServiceNow and serve as consultants for our clients. So the company is divided into the staffing side and now the consultancy side. And essentially what we do is we look at the veteran community and individuals with at least a minimum of 2 years, whether it be an active duty person exiting the military or a military spouse. And in an effort to get them trained and relevant, a lot of times what we found is that these individuals have a pretty extensive IT background, and what they lack is the civilian recognized certification. So what we do essentially is we hire these individuals, we fly them into Philadelphia or Tampa, we put them in an Airbnb as a company employee. They start from day one, and they go through 11 weeks of certification training in ServiceNow. At the end of the 11 weeks, they've accumulated or acquired 3 certifications in ServiceNow, and then they serve as deployable resources or consultants to our clients across the U.S. We are partnered. We are the only exclusive company that is partnered with ServiceNow to offer this program. And we are heading into our very 3rd hiring cycle, which starts October 4th, where the next course is going to be in Tampa, Florida.
Gary?
Hey, thank you, Elvis. And I want to thank the Institute and also Hire Heroes USA to giving us the opportunity to be on this panel. And for everybody out there in the audience, thank you for your service. I got 35 years of service, retired several years ago, and today I'm the Vice President for Military and Veterans Affairs at CACI. As you heard Brianna describe, we're a large company, a federal contractor, and we're headquartered in Arlington, Virginia, but we're located all around the world, wherever our customers are. We deliver enterprise and mission solutions to our customers that they require in their national security missions by leveraging our expertise, innovation, and technology. Our customers include all of the services in the Department of Defense, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, all of the agencies within the intelligence community, and many other of the federal agencies such as Department of Homeland Security, Department of Justice, Department of State, and so forth. Like I said, we're headquartered in Northern Virginia, but we have business locations around the country wherever our customers are and require our mission support, such as we have business hubs all over Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., Fort Meade, Maryland, Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland, Norfolk, Virginia, where we do a lot of work with the Navy based in Norfolk base, same with San Diego, Fayetteville, North Carolina, where we have customers and clients in the Special Operations community, and the same with Tampa, with customers there both in Central Command and U.S. Special Ops Command, and then also in San Antonio and Colorado Springs. Those are just some of our hubs, but we have many other locations around the world. We have about 750 employees today serving side by side with their military customers overseas, deployed in combat zones in places like Djibouti, Afghanistan, and elsewhere. The type of work we do, just an example of a couple of contracts we do, a couple of missions we support for our customers. Right now we have a contract where we're developing integrating and deploying the integrated pay and personnel system for the U.S. Army. This is the system of record to monitor, maintain, and run the Army's pay and personnel system. It's being deployed in the National Guard right now and in the reserves and active Army in the years to come. That's a big mission that we support the Army on. Department of Homeland Security, Transportation Security Administration, we run their enterprise IT network from A to Z, all aspects of their enterprise network. That work, a lot of that work is done here in Northern Virginia. So, since our founding in 1962, our company has really, veterans are a big part of our company, key part of our company all those years. Today, our chairman of the board is a veteran. We have veterans at every level of leadership. One of our 4 presidents is a veteran, and we have veterans at every level of the company and every level of management and every type of job. A critical part of what we are and who we are as a company. We have nearly 8,000 veteran employees in the workforce. That includes, veterans and current serving Guard and reservists, about 270 of those current serving Guard and reservists. That comprises about 38% of our company workforce being veterans, Guard, and reservists. And last year alone, in fiscal year 19, we hired 3,100 veterans as new hires into our company. So we love veterans. We love what they bring to the company. We have a very aggressive and active external veterans hiring program. I have a team of 3 people dedicated solely to supporting and being advocates for veteran job candidates. We have a campaign, outreach campaign across the country that reaches out to transition assistance programs on every military base, and the name of that campaign is Continuing Your Mission, because we consider, veterans very valuable, and the military skill sets and missions they perform in uniform translate perfectly into the national security missions that we're involved with as a corporation. Internally, we have a very active Veterans Employee Resource Group. We do things like lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier on Veterans Day. We build goodie bags for veteran employees or all of our employees who are deployed overseas, supporting missions, contracts in our clients in combat zones and things of that nature. So we value veterans at every level, 38% comprised by veterans, and look forward to talking to you and answering your questions and how we can make you one of our future veteran employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. So today we'll spend about next 20 minutes asking some series of prepared questions for our guests, and I'll let each of them answer on behalf of their companies, and then we'll open up the floor to you guys in the audience. And if you have any questions, please make sure you type them into the chat box, and we'll make sure we leave some time to answer them. So our first question for today is, why veterans? What benefits have you seen from hiring veterans or military connected personnel? Who would like to start, guys?
Hey, I'll jump on it. Elvis, this is Gary again. I've just got done talking, but I'll just keep talking as well. But I'd like to answer that one, take a swing at that. I think it's pretty clear, the values that the veterans bring to the workforce. Being a veteran myself, and with 3 people on my veteran military advocacy recruiting team, we know the values veterans bring, because we're all veterans. We get over 63 years of service between the 3 of us. We know that veterans bring discipline, work ethic, great training, lots of competencies and skills, security clearances. About 80% of our jobs require a security clearance, so that's very important. And then also the values that veterans bring to the workforce. But above that, additionally, we also see that veterans bring a sense of purpose, and that's important for our national security missions that we support our clients on. A lot of the veterans we hire are actually familiar with the missions that we support, because they've got client and mission familiarity based on their time in the service, time in uniform. And it's a very easy transition from working as an intelligence analyst, for example, into a job with us where you serve as an intelligence analyst for one of our clients, as an example. So it's an easy transition, and a sense of purpose and mission familiarity is a really big part of making it, helping in that transition, and part of the big value that we see in veterans joining our workforce. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Cheryl, would you like to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, the veterans, I have a big personal connection for hiring veterans, so I really like that idea when I first got here. And in talking to a lot of the employees, we know we're going to have a significant turnover of people leaving that are seasoned. And so a lot of the recruitment locally brings in a younger generation. But when you mix that with veterans, and this is the approach when I first got here, was you mix it with some veterans and bring some veterans in, they bring discipline, drive, and a dedication that they've gotten in the service. They bring that into the workforce. It's so like, even though we're leaving, we have seasoned people leaving, they fit that middle bridge, and they help also develop, we're finding that they help develop the people that are coming in after them, those younger generations. They use the skills that they've acquired in the service from leadership or discipline, or even like ours is a safety sensitive position. So if you've been in the military, you've had some exposure to things that you know have to be taken care of from a safety perspective. So they bring that also into our environment. And so those types of skills make them the ideal candidate to fill our roles.
Thank you, Cheryl. Adi?
Yeah, just like the general said, I spent 23 years. I retired. I felt like I did a pretty good job preparing myself for retirement. But there's always that adjustment that happens after you retire. Veterans and mil spouses through their service are accustomed to change and overcoming obstacles. This is an issue that's pretty close to my heart. As a result, veterans and spouses offer a unique blend of adaptability, tenacity, loyalty to an institution. Those are all attributes that are very valuable in the corporate world. It doesn't matter what industry, whether it's IT, business, finance, sales, technology. Those are skills that are hard to teach and even harder to gauge during the hiring process. And I'm a strong believer that the military, all branches, is perhaps one of the best organizations on the planet when it comes to onboarding new hires. And the end product as they exit the military, by and large, is above what you would expect to find across other segments of the population.
Thank you. So our next question is in regards to your company while you were on. When recruiting veterans, have you observed any common issues amongst veterans during the civilian sector? If so, what advice would you give transitioning service members to help them overcome these issues? I would like to take this question on first.
I can do it. I can start. So for me, some of what I see when we're recruiting veterans is you'll get a resume and it'll tell like what their jobs have been, but when it comes to the service, capture it in a very small, I was in the service, the Army, whatever, for 4 years, and they don't capitalize on that, and they're very cautious, I guess, about talking about it. And I think sometimes if more of that came through, we could see a better picture of them, if that makes sense. They have a lot to offer that transfers from their military over here, and I think sometimes they forget that.
Yeah, I'd like to add to what Cheryl said. Really, I see the same thing at CACI. I probably look at maybe 100 resumes a week on average, and engage veterans from Lance Corporal to Colonel, and at every levels, and seeing their resumes and the type of jobs they're applying to. And the resume, we kind of zero in on this, but the resume is a key tool. It's a screening tool. It's the veteran's ticket to an interview, and showing that you meet the minimum qualifications to kind of get to that next step. So it's important that the resume captures the qualifications. And if you're applying to job X, and job X has 3 or 4 must-have qualifications, then it's important on the resume to show, if you are qualified for those, to show that what those qualifications are, that you meet them. And so often we see veterans kind of take it for granted. that and may not list those qualifications because they assume that someone or people would know that that's the type of thing they do. For example, I had a retiring Army officer who had spent a lot of his latter part of his career in the Pentagon as a budget analyst. That's a lot of what people in the Pentagon do. There were certain budget sort of monitoring and management skills that were required for this particular job he applied to, but he never mentioned in his resume, never listed in his resume what those skills were. And when I called him on it, he was applying to the job as a budget analyst. When I called him on it, he said, "Well, everybody knows that in the Pentagon you can do this, you can do that, and you have that experience." But the answer is no. Don't assume anything, and especially for the qualifications that may apply directly to the job you're interested in, that you're applying to, you should customize and tailor your resume to include meeting those qualifications and the experiences, competencies, and credentials and so forth that show that you meet those qualifications. So don't take anything for granted. Lay it all out there, even if you think everybody knows. Assume no one knows, and be very clear in defining how you meet the qualifications of the jobs you're applying for in a tailored resume. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think this, Cheryl, again, I think it's important too, like if you're struggling writing that resume and making it capture what you need to for either a specific role or to define what you've done in the service so that it transfers into more civilian terms, for lack of a better word. There's organizations such as Hire Heroes that will help you write that resume so that it's eye-catching, because when you're going through so many resumes, it's easy to miss those if that information is not in front of us quickly. So it's important to have someone help you write that resume if you need it.
Thank you, Cheryl. Adi, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, one of the best advice that I can give veterans, my entire staff, with the exception of one person, is all prior service from all branches of service. I have almost an entire 100% veteran staff. The best advice that I can give veterans coming out of the military is to start planning early, and be a professional that happens to be a veteran, not a professional veteran. There's a difference between the two. There's a big lack of transition preparation, education. There's a certain level why there's a lot of organizations that are very keen on hiring veterans. A lot of nonprofits that help veterans prepare for the corporate transition. A lot of the heavy lifting actually has to come down to you, to the veteran that's applying for those roles, those positions, through education and being ready. And if you think about it from a reverse point of view, assume for a second that I leave college, I graduate college, and I go into the corporate world. And over the next decade, I built my career in a corporation and eventually worked my way to senior manager. Now I'm early 30s and I decide that I want to join the military. So I leave the corporate world and I walk into a recruiting office and I tell the recruiter that I want to be a major or a colonel or a general because I was a senior director or a program at the corporate world. Right? That would not work. It's the same way in reverse. When you leave the military, there's a certain level of humility and relearning certain skills that you're going to have to, position yourself for, so that that transitional pain is going to be reduced, and you're not expecting a certain handout or a certain position or a certain salary because you are essentially starting from scratch again. That's the best advice that I would be able to give veterans coming up. Thanks.
Thank you all. So we have a few questions. We can answer them now. You guys want to tackle them, or we can wait after a few more questions. My next question for you guys is, are there any certain experience, traits, or skills that help candidates stand out in applicant pool from your position posting in your company when you're hiring? What do you look for when you screen resumes?
I can jump on that because we get on average.
Go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah, so this is a guy. I can jump on that real quick because we get on average we open about 12 seats or 12 roles per quarter, and I get on average about 1,000 to 1,500 resumes. Easy to read resume. Certifications are always welcome, especially in the IT field. Anything with Six Sigma, PMP, developers are always welcome. If you have the opportunity now, while you're in the military, or you just recently transitioned, to get certifications or specific skill sets that can easily translate from military to civilian, that is going to catapult you ahead of the line. On average, my recruiters, I've got a few of them now, spend 6 to 10 seconds just scanning a resume, and they're looking for specific key certifications or skill sets. So I would say concentrate on getting that portion of it ready in order to jump ahead when you start the application process. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what Addie said. And just to add to that, you know, in CACI we have over 6,000 veteran applications a month, and you know, about 100 recruiters and sourcers and so forth going through these applications, and I look at a number of them myself, and so it's you know, the thing that makes the veteran resume stand out from the crowd. One, if the company you're applying to has a military advocacy team like we do in our company, reach out to the military advocacy team, because their job is to help you with the process. And then if you're a qualified candidate and you've applied to a job, we advocate for you internally in the company. That doesn't give any privilege or preference or any of that sort of stuff, but it just you know, serves to alert our hiring managers and so forth that we have a qualified, suitable, available, cleared veteran job candidate, and to just to make sure they are alert to your credentials and application. I mean, we do that. So a military advocacy team can help you navigate through the process. Of course, the traits and skills and so forth that stand out for the veterans are adaptability, leadership. I mean, everybody coming out of the military is led at some level and some capacity. Security clearance is something that ought to be front and center on your resume, especially if you're applying to a job that requires one. You ought to know what the status is of your security clearance. We sometimes see veterans who mistakenly think their clearance is current, but when we vet them, we find that it is expired. And so it's incumbent on the job applicant, the veteran, to know what the status is of your individual security clearance. But you know, I think just to go back to the previous question, I think it applies. The answer applies to this question as well. Is that, you know, the people that sort of make it through that screen, the job candidates who make it through that resume screen and onto hiring manager interviews and so forth. You know, our veterans do really well in the interviews, but getting through that resume screen, the key is tailoring the resume for the job and ensuring that the qualifications that you own, that job requires, are front and center, easy to find on your resume, so you can get through that screen, get on the interview, and that's where we see the veterans excel in face-to-face interviews, you know, exhibiting and exuding confidence and exhibiting their leadership and everything like that. But you still got to get through the screen, and that's where the resume can help. Thank you.
And this is Cheryl. I agree. Like we know everybody in the military has had exposure to leadership in one way or another. So framing that on your resume is key, because it shows a lot of the potential that's there. Also making sure you break down what you've done in the military and kind of format it. So it's like, if it's logistics, give us a small capture of it, so that, yeah, as you're screening it, you catch it. I do agree that the biggest hurdle to jump is getting that resume so it looks good and screened and you're pulled in for the interview, because hands down, when you interview them, they interview exceptionally. They bring a lot to the table, and you can get that. It's getting to that face-to-face. I think it's all important to utilize the connections that you have and that you've developed, because those connections can sometimes get you in to a interview where somebody might have seen your resume and kind of not saw it for what it was. But if you have somebody advocating for you, or somebody raising their hand saying, I know this person and this is what they bring to the table, it gets people to give a second look to your resume. And if we can get you into an interview, hands down, a veteran is going to excel at an interview quicker a lot of times than other individuals will.
Thank you, guys. And looks like we have some questions about resumes and cover letters. So some of the questions that came in is, how long should a resume be? What type of format should you suggest for resumes, and if you have any recommendations in regards to cover letters and the importance of it.
Yeah, let me just jump on that first. This is Gary. In terms of length, some people get confused. We're a federal contractor, and the federal government does have a different job sites and things that you have to submit your government requirement resume, and some of those get very long, submitted through USA.gov and so forth. That's for the government. It's not for federal contractors. Our company, we prefer a 2-page resume. If you really got some crazy compelling things, take a 3rd page, but it ought to be able to be compressed into 2 pages. And in terms of the things we've all talked about, making sure that you don't bury your security clearance, your credentials, your IT certifications, your PMP, all those kinds of things that may apply to the job you're applying to. They should not be hidden or hard to find on your resume. And then the other piece is the format. There's a lot of million formats out there. A lot of military transition programs teach a format that I don't think is particularly helpful, and it's called an attribute-based format. It might list instead of job titles and experiences, it'll list attributes like resource management and training and those sorts of things. And then in the format, you're supposed to put in the types of things you've done in those to verify those attributes. That's not really helpful because we're hiring against job titles, and our recruiters are filling and looking at resumes to fill positions. So it's really important to know what the job titles were that you had. In a federal contractor like us with a lot of work with the military, I encourage people to put the title that you had in the military, be a company commander or platoon training manager or what have you, and then also maybe put a civilian version of that, platoon sergeant / training manager or what have you. So you don't get too hung up on using civilian or military job titles. Our company, we understand both. You can use both. Where it gets tricky is if you're a company commander in charge of 100 people and you've translated your job title in company COO, Chief Operating Officer. I've actually seen that on some young captains' resumes. So don't inflate or overstate the job title when you try to translate your military job title into a civilian job title, because that won't get you very far, nor will trying to impress in the business side of things. We understand people coming out of the military don't have a lot of business experience. The military is a nonprofit organization. We're focused on mission accomplishment and taking care of our people. All those things are important. What we don't have is a lot of business savvy, skills, and experience, especially on the experience side. That's what you get in the private sector. So some of our veterans don't do so well in interviews when they try to be something they are not, and trying to be experts in the business world, which they are not. Focus on what your strengths are. The business experience will come down the road. For the most part, we're hiring veterans for their military experience, savvy, competencies, values, and work ethic, and we recognize that the business experience is something that you'll gain in the company, not necessarily something that you bring into the company. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Cheryl, would you like to speak on resumes and formats and how many pages and cover letters, importance of it within your company?
Yeah, so I think for us, again, in 2 pages, anything more than 2 pages kind of gets a little much. So somebody, as they're screening them, they're not going to concentrate on something more than 2 pages, we found. Also, there's a lot of different resume formats out there. There's a lot that will show you capturing at the top of the resume highlights. And if you have that highlighted area, whether you're, taking a moment to put a quick paragraph together of what you do, or even the bulletproof that says what your skill sets are. And you can have different resumes that are tailored to different positions that you are applying for. If it's a management position versus logistics, separate them and utilize, similar to what he was just saying about making sure you're putting in there what you've done and only what you've done, but capitalizing on what it is that we're looking for. If we're looking for someone to work in a certain area and we need like somebody who has Delta V experience, if you have that, make sure those words are in there because that's what they're going to pull out of your resume when they're screening.
Thank you, Cheryl. Adi, would you like to talk from your company perspective? What type of resume formats are you looking for? How many pages? Do you prefer bullet points or paragraphs?
I agree. You know, less is more. Definitely pages. The resume, how to format the resume, it's such a tricky question because hiring managers, recruiters are all different in what they look for. But one thing everyone, I think, can agree on is that in the corporate world, time and value is king, right? So formatting something that's easy to read. And what I always tell people is when they're transitioning out, take your resume to a friend or family member who has no idea about the military, doesn't know what you did in the military, doesn't have any experience. And if they can take that resume and know exactly what position or role you're going for based on what you did, then you're probably on the right track, because they'll be able to clearly see what a recruiter, not every organization has trained military recruiters. Some organizations have regular recruiters that have worked within the military. So you want to make the resume easy for them to understand as to A, what your experience is, and B, what position you're applying for and how you're a good fit, right? And the best way to do that is to find someone who doesn't understand military acronyms, jobs, and make sure they understand your resume. Then the chances of a recruiter or hiring manager understanding yours is greatly increased. Certainly agree, no more than 2 pages. Anything over that is overkill. And as far as formatting, again, I've seen every type. So that's really comes down to individual preference for the recruiter, HR person, or hiring manager. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey Elvis, this is Gary again. Hey Elvis, on the cover letter piece, I don't think a lot of us mentioned that, but just my take on the cover letter is that if there's a specific job in our company that may require some special explanation or what have you, we'll generally ask for a cover letter, but most of our jobs, great majority of them, do not have anything like that written up in the job description. And so, I don't think our cover letter in those cases where it's not specified or requested is really worth the effort. Thank
you, Gary. I was just about to ask, what is your preference on cover letters, like recommendations, suggestions?
This is a die. I second that. I never look at them unless, and I know my recruiters don't either, unless the job specifically ask for a cover letter. It's really, it's not going to really get looked at. We're going to skip right through it and go right to the resume.
I agree. From my perspective, we are looking at so many that I'm focused on the resume. The letter doesn't do anything for us at this area.
Thank you, guys. So we have other questions from Maggie. She said, can you share some insights into the candidate interview process? Also, what opportunities are available for military spouses? If possible, she's interested in learning more about HR recruiting roles.
Yeah, well, I'll answer the second part of that. I didn't pick up on the first part, so I'm going to ask you to repeat that, Elvis. Something about the internal process. Could you repeat that part, and then I'll take both parts in an answer.
Absolutely. So Maggie's asking, can you share some insights into the candidate interview process? Like process about
candidate interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the first part, the second part of the question was of military spouses, and we love military spouses and as employees in our company. They bring all the selfless service, competencies and skills and so forth that you see in their military spouse. Their military member. The difficulty, the challenge in our company is a great majority of our positions require security clearance, and those clearances have to be current at the time of hire. And so a lot of our military spouses, there are some, but the majority of military spouses don't have the opportunity to get a security clearance. And so that, for our company, becomes a challenge and an obstacle for military spouses in a lot of our jobs. We do have positions listed where no clearance is required, and those are the ones where we tend to vector our military spouse towards, because there's no clearance requirement at the point of hire. Getting into the first part of the question, the interview process, boy, there's lots of tips and things. We could spend the rest of the time on interviews. I'd say something that Cheryl mentioned, I'll just echo, and I'll say one other thing. That it's really important to try and network yourself into finding an inside source or a champion. The champion can help you not only advocate for you in the hiring process, but also can give you insights into the company and the culture and so forth that are invaluable in the interview process, such as understanding the culture. In our company, you go in an interview, you should know that we don't say khaki. We say CACI. Well, how do you know that? Well, you get that from an inside source, so you have that ready to go before you get into the interview. You know the type of clothing you might wear to an interview. You know some of the background and other things. You might learn more about the job and the mission and the organization, and so you're not coming into an interview cold. It can also help you, give you a better feel and see if you're a good fit for the company. So I think finding a champion can definitely give you a leg up on the interview process. The other things, as I kind of said earlier, don't try to be something you're not. We see veterans come in and try and wow a hiring manager on their business expertise and things they might read in a book or in other areas like that. And you're talking to a hiring manager who's maybe been a business program leader for 20, 25 years in the business sector, and there's not a lot that in terms of business experience, profit and loss, and managing contract programs and so forth. Veterans may have the experience on the client side, but not necessarily on the company, on the corporate side. And so I think just being really clear on that and focusing on the things that our veterans are expert on, I think is just a good approach coming into an interview, and not trying to impress on some subjects that that may not have the expertise in. And then the other thing is to know, in an interview, what is the value that you bring to a company? If you're coming into a technical position, as an IT or an intelligence technical professional, be able to explain the experience and the value and the competencies and things that you bring to that particular job, the value that you bring, be able to say that in a very concise way. If you're coming in as a sort of a government relations executive, or you see a lot of senior officers who are looking for those jobs, and the value you bring to the company in that sort of role is your network and your connections and your knowledge of acquisition programs and that sort of thing. So, be able to, I think, concisely say in an interview what the value is that you bring to the company based on your military and other experiences that you've gained over time. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Cheryl, do you have anything to add on this?
Yeah, so again, like he was saying, I do agree that the military spouses or military family members do bring to the table the same types of thing a veterans does as far as dedication and drive. So I think we kind of see them as similar when we're looking at them. When you come in for the interview, one suggestion I can make is like he was saying, know how the name is pronounced, but also know something about the company. Do your research beforehand, so when you get in there, you're able to correlate what you know and how it would benefit that organization. The other thing was telling them, being honest with them, letting them know if there's something specific that you don't have that they're looking for, you may not have that experience or that skill set, but you're willing to learn it. And that makes a huge difference for us as well when we're looking at candidates. It's like, it's not only experience, but it's what your potential can be. So we look at it from two different angles.
Thank you, Cheryl. Eddie, do you have anything from your side?
So I had an audio fade, so can you just repeat the initial? I've heard what everybody's response was, but I want to make sure I get the original question correct.
So original question is, can you share some insights into the candidate interview process? Also, what opportunities are available for military spouses?
So, sadly, there's more opportunities for veterans exiting than there are for spouses, and I'm hoping that a lot of organizations are making a move towards bringing on military spouses. Here in our company, we believe that everyone serves, just only one gets to wear the uniform. So the same opportunities or same initiatives that we have towards veterans, we also have towards military spouses. As far as preparation for the interview process, I have to echo what Gary and Cheryl said, which is, there's a certain, remember in the beginning I said there's a certain level of responsibility that falls on you when it comes to preparing for an interview, right? This is the initial contact that you have. Dress for success and know what the role is and what the company does, right? It's way different than it was 20, 25 years ago when it comes to researching what companies do. There's a lot of information out there that go on their websites, go on their social media, talk to another veteran that works for the organization prior to, connect with them on LinkedIn, send them a message, hey, I have an interview with so-and-so for this role. Can you tell me a little bit about your organization and what your organization does? Preparation, image matters, and be able to articulate your responses and how you can contribute to that team. Every hiring manager knows that you're not going to come with 100% of the skills that they're looking for, but we are looking for someone who's willing to learn and willing to dig in and be a part of the team. So those are the top three things that I would absolutely recommend. Do your homework, dress to impress, come prepared, and ready to contribute and be part of the team.
Thank you all, and we have probably time for one more question, and we have from Brianna. She's interested in knowing if you guys utilize applicant tracking system or not, and how can candidates get their resumes in your hands aside from networking?
So I can lead on that one. We do have an applicant tracking system. The recruiters are probably more familiar with that than I am, but I've had resumes sent to me on LinkedIn directly. Somebody sends me a message, I start a conversation. I look for, because of the restrictive nature of our candidate profile, I look for talent everywhere I can get it. A direct email, direct message from LinkedIn. And one thing that's also important is once you submit to an applicant tracking system, it's important to be able to do some level of follow-up. I can't tell you enough how important that is. When I'm looking at 1,500, or there's 1,500 applicants, and my recruiter is trying to figure out what's what, the person that follows up and sends a follow-up email saying, I'm just checking in on my resume, I turn it in at this time, seeing if this position is still available, typically gets the double look, and they'll more than likely increase their chances of getting looked at over someone who just, as we say in the military, fires away or sprays and prays and just throws in the resume and then walks away expecting someone to call them. A lot of this, folks, has to be done by you, and you have to be your own champion when you're looking for a job. Thank you.
And I'll say we also do use one as well. And one of the key things with ours is once you go in and you log in and you get all your information and you upload it, it's really easy to apply to any other positions within our organization. And the thing is, networking does play a part into it, but it's also, like they were saying, how much effort you're going to put forth into continuing to apply. Because when you look at a job, and if I have a job posted, I might have 150 people apply. At that snapshot in time, you may not be one of the top candidates. But if that same role comes up 3 months later and 150 people apply, you may be one of the top candidates in that group of individuals applying. So if you get turned down when one position is open, but that's really the company and a type of position you want, that shouldn't discount your ability to continue wanting to drive and apply to it. So the more that you apply to them, the better your chances will be on getting a role.
Hey, this is Gary. I just got one thing to add to what Cheryl and Addie said. They pretty much covered everything here on the applicant tracking system. But, you know, some companies, our company included, has an additional sort of piece to the applicant tracking system is when you apply to the job on the job application, digital job application, you may also get prompted to, in our case, we call it a talent community. Talent community is nothing but a job alert board where, you know, you fill out a profile of the type of job you're looking for, location, experience, and so forth. And then when jobs come open in that particular, matching that profile, you'll get an alert. So one, you're applying to a job that you're interested in, but also you're applying into the talent community, job alert system that will send you alerts to other jobs other than the one you applied to when those jobs are open that match your profile. So that kind of gives you, you're in the applicant tracking system, but it also gives you visibility on additional positions. I mean, jobs are opening and closing all the time. We got hundreds of positions out there that are open, that are constantly popping on on our career site, careers.caci.com, and they stay on the career site until it's filled. I get asked a lot, well, what are the other jobs that you have that are sort of the secret or closely held positions that aren't advertised? Well, I don't know, because in our company, all the jobs that we're trying to fill are on our career site. There's no separate category. They're all publicly posted on our career site, and those are the jobs our recruiters are trying to fill. And so looking at our career site and being on as a member of the talent community, getting job alerts, gives you full visibility on every job that we have out there that we're looking to fill. Thank you.
Thank you all. And I have one more small question from Rolf. He says, what is the best format of resume to catch recruiter's eye? Is it bullet format or paragraph format, especially in IT?
Well, since we're a global IT firm, and that's all I hire for, if we want to know, you know, about the role that you currently have, but you want to start with your bullets or your certifications or experience in IT, whether that be in coding, JavaScript, Angular, Python, Salesforce, C++. You want to list those bullets right on top, because the IT recruiters that work for the company, that's the first thing they're looking for when they get a job rec from any of our clients. They come with specific IT skills, and that's exactly what they're going to look for in the resume. So you want to start with your education and your IT background in both. It's the way we prefer it.
Yeah, and I would add in there from my company, CCI's perspective, you know, the thing I would add in there as well is the security clearance and other, you know, outside IT. I agree with what Addie said, but outside IT, the IT job field, you know, if you're in intelligence or logistics or project management, there are other, you know, similar credentials that establish your that may establish your qualifications for certain jobs. And so I would add them at the top, front and center of your resume as well. I get asked a lot, well, are we allowed to put our security clearance on our resume? Yeah, absolutely. If you're applying to a job that requires a secret clearance, and you have one, you should put it on there. It's a key qualifier for that position. You don't have to put the things that you have had access to with your secret clearance or any of that sort of background. That's not necessary. No need to know or share on that. But the fact you have a clearance, it matches, or it may be higher or less than the job you're qualifying for, is important to know. The status of the clearance, being active, expired, and so forth, are a key part of I think working in the federal contracting environment and the client's environment. They're always we support. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of IT recruitment, but I will tell you that from a hiring manager's perspective, when things are in the bullet at the front at the top of a resume, it's really much more eye-catching for them to grasp it rather than having to look down through your resume to find the keywords they're looking for, the key skill set. So I would think putting them at the top would probably be would probably be the best approach.
It looks like we are almost out of time, so I just want to say thank you all of you for today joining us and sharing your experiences and your company's backgrounds. And I just want to remind, thank you, Brianna, as well. Just want to remind everybody watching out there is that this session is being recorded, and the YouTube recorded link will be sent out with the survey link as well. I'll look out for that, and it should be available on our IVMF YouTube channel. And our next webinar is next Tuesday, September 17 at noon. We're going to be talking about managing your time as an entrepreneur in a partnership with the AARP. So thank you all again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.